Hello, this is Elin Petronella from the Charlton Elin Academy, and I'm so excited to have you here. Today, I'm going to bring you along as I add the last few stitches on this design from Venice, or inspired from Venice. Actually, when I was designing this pattern, I browsed through some of our old designs, and this is in our book, Mindful Embroidery. And there is this design here of a Venice street. And when we think of Venice, we always think of these canals, right? And the water. And here, the emphasis in this particular pattern, I'll twist it a little bit so that you see it from straight front. The composition, we see the focal point. It's really pointing towards the middle. The whole focus is on the texture, the deliciously textured. I remember how fun this was to stitch water. And I thought, what if I do an interpretation of this scene, but I kind of skew the angle a little bit? So something that I find incredibly satisfying and fun with architectural stitching, and I've talked a lot about thread sketching lately. It's really how different a scene can be, the visual storytelling, how that changes as you just shift the angle, shift the perspective a little bit, the power of changing the angle of the lines, how that goes. If we just put these next to each other again, so you can see there, here it's kind of like in the middle of the channel, whereas here you see it a little bit more from the side, as if, let's say, somebody would be standing over here, looking at the bridge. Yeah, so let's, without chatting along too much in the beginning, let's just go ahead. So I wanted just to show you the current details that I'm doing. So I tend to do the basic structures first. So I will embroider all of the main contours, and then I see what I think is missing, and I kind of spice it or juice it up by adding those details. So for example, it can be greenery leaves here under the balcony. So instead of the typical French knot that I use a lot for small bushes and things, I actually decided to go for a full strand. That means 6 strands, full floss, sorry, 6 strands in the floss. And I do very short stitches, making them, each stitch kind of imitating a very textured, I mean, it doesn't look really like a French knot. French knots are still more textured, a more 3D effect and volume, but it allows you to get into a flow in another way. French knots takes a little bit more time. You need to have some support to be able to push them through, whereas this type of technique fitted me very well this month as I was stitching this design, sitting in my armchair and not really being in a position of being able to do French knots. So the flexibility of embroidery is fabulous in this way, that you can adapt your techniques to what fits your life in that season. Isn't that magical? So yeah, here I am. You might notice that there are 2 different nuances of green. This is conscious. Again, adding to the visual storytelling. This is a concept that I bring up constantly in our classes in the Charlton Elin Academy. In case you're curious, by the way, I will put a link to it in the description box below. There's also a free beginner's class that you can take in case you are completely new to the architectural style and embroidery in general. So the darker nuance, I am doing that in places where I imagine there is less sun exposure. So on this particular design, considering here it's a bit shade, I'm imagining the light to come from here. The sun is right here, which is why this one will be darker than this. This side of the building will be in shade comparative to where the light comes from. This is a type of thinking that integrates and fuses painting and drawing theories with embroidery, and it's really helpful in developing kind of a second sense for color selection and color choice, like why choose a certain nuance and place it in a certain like position in relation to another. So I'm not going to do this darker nuance green everywhere on this section. I'm doing it so that to the right side there's a little bit lighter, the left side a little bit darker, and then I kind of do that in turns just to break it up a little bit and not create a flat space in terms of just especially reflecting and in terms of colors, because I mean thanks to the textures, it's definitely not flat. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that a little bit. I'll attach that floss and finish up after, because before I let you go, I also wanted to show this bit here, which is another example of how I like to add these tiny details. Like the embroidery designs, I find that adding, there's these small details that make all the difference of making a design look just basic, simple versus really advanced. So here you can see that this is obviously the baseline that I stitched first, just to have a position of this is the mural on for the sidewalk on the other side, whereas here is where the water is, right? Well, how to capture the fact that water is fluid? I'm not sure that it's ever just like completely straight here. You know, just think about the water line bordering a wall in this way. It's never completely perfectly straight, and leaving it straight would just kind of make it not fake, but it would just not do it justice. So I'm taking a single strand and I'm going to just do a few straight stitches that I kind of crisscross, like cross, just to blur. I mean, I'm not sure if blur is the correct word, but it's really just to hint. And there's no exact formula as to where to place your stitch. This is really, really a sense thing, but you try to just place a few stitches that aren't straight in order to create the feeling and enhance the fact that this is water. The water is moving. You can even add a few stitches. Let's see how that will look like, especially here in corners. It's always a good idea if you want to add, like suggest. So our minds work brilliantly in the way that many times when it comes to visual arts, we don't actually need to fill everything in order for our brain to understand that this is the way it is, this space is filled. And how to know where to place those suggestions. It's always a good go-to to add that kind of suggestion in corners, as opposed to just right in the middle, randomly placed. Because if it's right in the middle, it might actually feel more flat and mal placé, like misplaced, than anything. So I just add, you see, a few extra straight stitches right around here, because oftentimes right where, if you really think about reality, use reality as your inspiration. Usually when you look at, for example, a little bridge like this crossing the street, usually there's a bit more movement of the water right where it hits. So that's why also it makes sense. All right, so how many stitches was that? I don't know. Let's say 40. We added literally just single-stranded 40 stitches. Instead of the just straight flat line, we immediately added so much depth to this with something so simple. Guys, I'm so excited about these types of things. And that is why I'm so passionate about empowering you to think simple. That is the basis for, I mean, we've got about 38 classes in the Charles & Ellen Academy at this point, and it's all about just helping and supporting you to open your mind to what is possible with small alterations. We've just been chatting now for about 10 minutes. I showed you the impact of thinking where the light comes from, in just knowing intuitively where to place the different nuances of green instead of just randomly placing them everywhere. You can strategically, if you will, place them according to the light. And secondly, just showing you this with one strand, about 40-50 stitches, immediately adding depth here. I really hope that you found this insightful and exciting. If you want to grab this pattern of Venice, I haven't actually given it a proper name yet. Maybe just help me suggest a name. Oh, one last thing before I let you go. because I do think that I will receive questions about this particular area. Here I haven't added the bars yet because I wanted to show the importance and the impact of doing things that is the furthest away from you first in order to add this depth. So you will always stitch the sidebars that are on the other side first, and then you layer the ones closest to you afterwards. So here you can see how I did the behind ones first, and then I've layered. I did exactly the same on the one in the book as well, Mindful Embroidery. In case you have it, you can see that it's exactly the same principle. I embroidered those in the back first and then layered the ones in front. All right, that was just a little final tangent to add even more value to this. If you want to grab this pattern, it's for the rest of the month in the pattern program in the Academy. You can check that out below. And after that, I will upload it uniquely to the pattern site, charlestonallen.com, where we've got over 100 designs already inspired from our beautiful world. It's enough to go outside of your door and you have inspiration instantly at your fingertips. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss to like and subscribe if you want to receive more updates when I'm posting these Stitch and Chat. It's a new series that I've started where I want to bring you along in the real-time process, short snippets of the current work in progress, because, you know, we're tired of everything that is so perfectly planned out, right? So I just really want to make this an intimate experience and reflect more of how the style of our classes are as well. It's me, you chatting and just packing in with value of how it really is, how it really works, right? So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.